Hello YouTube, how you doing? It's Low Power. I'm here one more time. Today I'm going to do this video on the greatest players of all time, and I'm gonna be listing them. I'm gonna go, I guess, 1 to 15. I might go to 20. And what I did, if you look at my other videos, I did the greatest players I ever seen. But right now, I did an in-depth study on some of the greats of all time. What I really did was take the 5 best players from each position, basically. I switched some centers with power forwards, things like that, that ESPN had listed. You know, they had listed the 5 greatest centers, 5 greatest point guards, 5 greatest power forwards, 5 greatest shooting guards. But I don't think they had a small forward, so I came up with my own small forwards. I didn't see the small forward one. What I did, I came up with my own system. What I did was take a person's individual accomplishments, one, their championship prowess, their PER, and their era all into consideration. What I did for individuals, what I did for each individual, I came up with a point system. For every MVP year you had, you got 10 points. Alright? If you finished second place in the MVP vote that year, you got 5. If you finished third place, you got 2 points. Alright? Then I gave 5 points for every finals MVP you won. I gave you 1 point for every All-Star MVP you won. 1 point for every All-Star appearance or team you were on. 5 points for Defensive Player of the Year award, and 5 points for Rookie of the Year. And then for the championship prowess, what I did was I gave 10 points for each championship, 5 points for being the runner-up. Okay? So what I did was, for the individual award, individual achievements, I added those points together. Then I take the championship prowess and added those points together, and I added those 2 totals together. Then what I do is take those totals, multiply it by the person's PER, career PER, player efficiency rating. And then this is what I did. For what era you played in, you got a certain, what I call an era quotient. This we divide the point total from adding those points together and multiplying by the PR. We divide by the error quotient, meaning I gave certain errors, I rated certain errors higher than others. The higher the rating of the error, the lower your quotient was. And so I went from 4 to 5, 4 points to 5 points, or 4.0 to 5.0. If you played during the golden era, which to me basically the best era, if you look on my YouTube, you see I did a analysis of the different eras. You get a 4.0 for your era quotient. The golden era from the 80s to the 90s, because it was the best played basketball. But also from 90 to 2002, I gave a 4.0 because that was the best defensive era. So to amass the statistics in those eras, you get extra credit, basically. Your era, as in the time played quotient, is lower. So the current era, basically 2002 and above, 4.6. And you got players that played between 2 eras. I just kind of adjusted it for playing in both eras, because you got Kobe and Shaq. They basically did a lot of their damage during the defensive era, but they also had some damage past the defensive era. So they get like a 4.2 instead of a 4.0, or 4.3 or something like that. Now the classic era, which is basically before the ABA, NBA, got a 4.8. The reason why I did that is because the rules were a lot different. You had a smaller lane, all those type of things. You had you had a brick lane era. You had a whole lot more rebounds and everything, because a lot more shots. The players were smaller. They weren't as fast. There's more space on the court. So their point. So to me, their many of their statistics are inflated, and so that's just my personal opinion. People might disagree with that, but I'm looking back on it. I don't see any reason to believe them players back then were better than the players right now. And the fact that they were smaller, bigger. I mean, they were smaller and not as fast and not as strong. Makes a big difference, and even with there had to be different rule changes and stuff. And before those rule changes, some of them players were able to pad their stats, namely like Will Chamberlain. So in that era, you get a 4.8. Now during the ABA, NBA era, when you had the two leagues, because of there being two leagues and the talent being stretched out, you get a 5.0. So that is how I did. That's how I came up with these. This is my own rating system. So this is the low power rating system. Whether or not it's truly indicative of who the best is, not, we can all argue about that. But I came, when I look at this list, I was trying to basically come up with greatness. Who was the greatest player, their overall body of work. So players who won championships and perform high on championship teams, they get a lot of props. And basically, the only way you get props to be on that, on this list is if you basically like the top 3 players on your team. So if you're somebody like Robert Horry and you got 6 championships, you're not even considered, So anyway, so I wanted to give people who won a lot of championships and played great on a high level a lot of credit. People who were considered the best in the best at the time, a lot of credit. But also give those players who, because sometimes politics is the reason why a guy don't get the MVP. I mean, Shaquille O'Neal was the most dominant player in the league for about 5 or 6 years, won one MVP. Doesn't make sense. So players. Then you got players like Michael Jordan. Some years he still should have won, but he didn't win because they just was tired of giving it to him. So what you have is players who finish in the top 3 all get some credit. So this is showing players who have been seen as being the top players in the game for long periods of time are getting a lot of credit, And then the PER comes in. It's to show something that we can't measure, that shows how consistent this person was over their whole career, statistically from day in and day out, all the games together, So this is my list, and there's some surprises in it. Some players that people call the greatest all time are a lot lower than people would think using my system. But number 1 player all time is. It's like he blows out everybody else. When I first did this list, I was thinking number 1 would probably be Kareem, number 2 would probably be Russell, or Jordan, number 3, and Magic, number 4. That's what I was thinking. Chamberlain, number 5, Shaq, number 6, something like that. And it really isn't, there's not a lot of surprises, but there are some surprises on who's the greatest. But the guy who's the greatest of all time, I don't think I get too many arguments with it. And so the next video, I will give you the list. I'm going to go from 1 to 20. Like I said, I went on ESPN and got the 5 best at each position, basically. Then I remembered some other people, put them in, and took some other people out. So I basically got 1 through 20. So there might be other players I didn't really consider because, some I just didn't consider them, like Elvin Hayes and Connie Hawkins. People like them I didn't list because they weren't in the top 5 of their positions, and they did a lot of play in the ABA, in those eras, and I think Connie Hawkins didn't play in the NBA for a while. I think he was like a 29-year-old rookie or something like that. So some players didn't get considered, but like I said, I got basically from 1 through 20, and pretty good list. And it's pretty, certain players I knew were going to be close, right there together. But anyway, come back and see the next video. Okay.